Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 320 for November 1st, 2023. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, we have our first head coach firing of the season in the NFL. There are no more winless teams in the NFL. And the Toronto Argonauts set a new franchise record for wins in a season. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table for me, as always, is my son, Adam.
Yeah, due to technical difficulties on our normal production day. Between that and
Being totally exhausted from going to the Monday night game.
we were totally exhausted from that Lions game. I mean, Kyle and I were able to scrape together a extra long edition of Just Lying Around.
Yeah,
but
I saw that was extra long.
But I mean, yeah, I was pooped yesterday. I was so tired, and then trick or treating on top of it yesterday was just. Man, it was a long day. I still feel like I could go home and take a nap.
Yeah, all I wanted to do was take a nap yesterday. I never did, but boy, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Monday night games was great. Our experiences were great. We'll talk about that in a minute. But man, I'm not ready to go to another Monday night game anytime soon.
Yeah, I think we'd have to tweak a couple things.
Or we should darn well stay in a hotel near Detroit instead of making the 2-hour drive home.
That's one of the tweaks I was thinking.
Oh my gosh. We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. We also want to keep an eye on where our listeners are at. The last week or so, we've been asking folks to let us know where you're at and where you're listening from. And we did hear from another one this week, B. Lewis, one of our guest pickers on our picks video. He's another Michigander, so he's right here within the state of Michigan. Thanks, B. Lewis, for doing that. And, we'll do this for a couple more weeks and see who responds. So let us know where you're listening to us from, city, state, country, whatever you want to share with us. We'll love to hear it, and we'll pass it on to everybody. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the descriptions of both the podcast and the YouTube video, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search the handle at the World of Football, as well as other selected videos on YouTube, like Just Lying Around, a Detroit Lions podcast featuring Kyle Sutherland and Adam Snow, where this week they talked about the Week 8 game between the Raiders and the Lions.
Yeah, we did. Kyle, I wasn't there. I don't know if you watched the show or not. Ted Lasso.
Oh, Ted Lasso filled in for you. That's right.
I mean, Ted Lasso was supposed to appear on this show, too, but after it got delayed, he didn't show up.
Well, maybe he'll show up on our picks video this week.
Well, I doubt that. Halloween's over, but my mustache is staying for a little bit.
Okay. Another video that we just posted in the last few days was my interview with author Greg Fasseri with his book, Gridiron Legacy, Pro Football's Missing Origin Story. That's a YouTube video you can check out. Very interesting.
Good interview.
He put out a great book. I mean, it's guy must weigh 10 pounds.
I mean, that book's a great looking book.
It is.
So you did the interview, and then I kind of got his book. You gave me the book to look at. And I was editing. It took me a while, so it's my bad we didn't get the interview up sooner. But I was editing the interview, kind of going through the book, trying to find stuff that, to use. Mm-hmm. And man, it's just so much in that book.
Yeah,
I think it looks like it's worth picking up. I'm gonna have to get myself a copy. He's got signed copies on his website.
Yeah,
I might have to just go do that. So I mean, seemed like a great book. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I didn't read all of it, but I got enough through it. I was like, I think this is a must-have.
I think so too.
If you're a football historian or if you're just a fan of the history of football in general, it's a must-have.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's begin this week's show, and we're going to start with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
That's right, everybody. It was Week 8 in the National Football League, and we had quite a few good games this week, a few stinkers, and some very interesting results. So we had a bit of everything this week. So we started off, the Buffalo Bills defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-18 on Thursday night. I didn't really catch much of this game, but a little bummed that Tampa Bay lost since I picked them. But it sounded like it was another close game.
It came down to the last play of the game, yeah. Hail Mary end zone that hit the ground. So
Yeah.
that was it.
Yep, and then the Houston Texans fell to the Carolina Panthers in a battle of their rookie quarterbacks, first-round picks. The Panthers got that one 15-13, also got their first win of the season, so there are no longer
Yep.
any winless teams in the NFL. So, hey, we made it to week 8, and
Yeah.
we got rid of all the winless teams.
Yep.
So,
Congratulations, Carolina.
yep, so we'll see if they can build on that with their young quarterback and see if Houston can rebound with their young quarterback.
I love seeing the Oilers uniforms that the Texans were wearing.
We're not to that game yet. The
Oh.
Texans cannot wear the Oilers uniforms.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, we'll get there. Spoilers.
Okay,
Come on,
okay.
Randy.
Hurry up.
The Dallas Cowboys handled the Los Angeles Rams 43-20. Matt Stafford went down with an injury in this game. Not that that helped the cause or hurt the cause, because I think they were already getting beaten pretty bad at that point. So Cowboys get a big win at home. The Minnesota Vikings got a win against the Packers to go to 4-4, but at what cost? As Kirk Cousins went down with an ACL injury and will be out for the remainder of the year. And we will talk again about the Vikings in the news segment, because they ended up making a trade to fill that quarterback spot. But if you're a Vikings fan, it was bittersweet. You got the win, but you lose Kirk, who was actually playing pretty good this year, I thought.
I'm not a Vikings fan, of course, but I do feel bad for him. He's a Michigan guy. Well, played at Michigan State. I think he lives here in Michigan still. I feel bad for him.
And we kind of grew a little more like, oh, okay, Kirk isn't that bad of a dude. Like, we watched the quarterback documentary, and I actually grew a little. Kirk Cousins grew on me a little bit there.
I learned a lot about him I didn't know, and I liked him after watching that.
So there was that. The New Orleans Saints got a win on the road against the Colts, 38-27. The Miami Dolphins got a victory over the New England Patriots, 31-17. And then in the ugliest game of the weekend, I want to say, the New York Jets got a 13-10 win over the Giants in overtime. I think did they break the record for the most punts in a game? It was something absolutely ridiculous. I'd have to go look that stat up, but I believe that's a real thing. My favorite thing from this game, though, was all the Jets fans that left and then tried to get back into the stadium.
You were telling me about that.
Yeah, after the Giants missed a field goal, all these Jets fans came running back into tried to get running back into the stadium. So I don't know if they actually got in or not, but that just cracked me up. The Jacksonville Jaguars got a big victory in Pittsburgh, 20-10. I mean, it's always something when you have a southern team in a warm weather city go up to a nasty cold weather town and just absolutely beat the crap out of that team. So the Jaguars might be a team to watch out for this year. I'm liking the Jags.
Very much so.
All right, and then here's the game you were talking about. As the Tennessee Titans dressed up as the Houston Oilers for Halloween this year and took on the Atlanta Falcons and got the victory 28-23 with rookie quarterback Will Levis under center this week. He threw 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Looked pretty good. People seem to be excited about him taking over for Tannehill. I think Tannehill's been out with an injury. And they played Thursday night, so we'll see if he plays again. But yeah, what do you think about the Oilers uniforms?
Oh, I love those Oilers uniforms. I love all the throwback ones. I collect mini helmets, but as far as the NFL goes, I only collect the throwback helmets. So I've got an Oilers mini helmet.
I see it up there. You got the whole
Dallas
wall of
Texans
helmets behind you. I'm looking at them. You got like old school Buffalo Bills, the O.J. Simpson era. You got the New York Sack Exchange helmet of the Jets. You got the Patriot hiking the ball helmet. You got the yellow Steelers helmet. The Bengals text helmet. The old Denver D helmet, the Washington Redskins, the Dallas Cowboys, but it's the white with just a flat blue star.
Right.
The creamsicle Buccaneers.
I love that one too.
The Washington Redskins spear. Oilers.
That's a good one.
Red Atlanta Falcons. Man, you're letting me talk too long. Bears with the white C. Man, oh man, help me out here.
It's behind me. I can't see. What
the Seattle Seahawks that they wore,
and the Dallas Texans of the
and
American
the Dallas
football.
Texans. I need some water. Man, oh man. But yeah, so you got some good helmets.
Yeah, and most of those I got at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I like the old helmets. There's a few more I'd like to get, like the throwback Miami Dolphins. I don't have that one. I haven't really seen that one, but more and more these throwback helmets are becoming more popular, and that's what I really like. I mean,
you gotta get yourself an Eagles one, the old Kelly green Eagles one,
the white helmet with the green,
or that one,
green,
either of those.
But yeah, if it's throwback, I love it.
Yep.
I do.
All right, the Philadelphia Eagles got a 38-31 win over the Commanders. In the Northwest, the Seahawks donned their old original uniforms and defeated the Browns 24-20. They
That
looked
did
great.
that didn't get a lot of attention. I mean, I saw some highlights, and boy, they skipped right over that. They didn't make much mention of the old
Yeah.
uniform, but oh, I love those uniforms. Back in the day, those were the second best uniforms behind the Lions. You know, I've
Oh,
always
you
liked the
you
Lions.
like the Seahawks
The
that much?
Seahawks were a lot like because they had the same kind of silver helmet with the Seahawks logo on it, and their jerseys, blue and kind of green or whatever. I don't like the current blue, the Seahawks blue, the new one. I
Yeah.
don't like their new helmets. I hate everything about their uniforms nowadays. Go back to those original uniforms. You'll look so much better.
Yeah, I thought it was a great
That's just
look.
my
And
opinion.
playing the Cleveland Browns, it just looked like an old school
Yes.
1990s, AFC
Yeah.
matchup. So
Yep.
that was the best part. And I liked that the Browns eventually kind of went back to that classic uniform too.
Hmm.
All right, the Baltimore Ravens got a 31-24 victory over the Arizona Cardinals. The Denver Broncos shocked the world and got their first victory over the Kansas City Chiefs in 8 years. Can you believe it? 24-9.
Hmm.
It's Patrick Mahomes' first loss to the Broncos ever. Patrick Mahomes also apparently before the game had the flu or something and was taking IVs all weekend. So I don't want to blame the game on, oh, he wasn't feeling good. Put an asterisk next to
Right.
it.
Yeah.
No, the Broncos defense, they came and played. We always talk about how, look, these division games, I don't care what teams' records are. Um, you know, it's a different ball game.
Hmm.
You throw the records out the door, and you're like, we've seen the 1-13 Lions take on the Minnesota Vikings and, put on a show or like, you know what I'm saying. Like you
Yep.
see a crappy team play really good against a division opponent. Because you see a team twice a year, you play them a little bit differently than these teams you see once a year.
Yep.
All right, the 49ers continue their losing streak, extending it now to 3 games as the Cincinnati Bengals got a 31-17 victory over them. The Bengals starting to get hot, and the 49ers starting to get a little bit cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like these two
Exactly.
teams going in 2 different directions. Because the 49ers, started off 5-0, dropping 3 straight, and then they scored 17 points in each of those 3 losses. But for the Bengals, I mean, come on, Joe Burrow, now that he's healthy, that team is a scary one to watch out for. I know they only have a 4-3 record right now, but you check back in on that team in 4 or 5 weeks, and we're going to be talking about maybe the best team in the AFC. We'll see where we're at. All right, then on Sunday Night Football, the Los Angeles Chargers got the victory over the Bears 30-13. And in Monday Night Football, a game we were at and we'll probably talk about for the next couple of minutes, the Detroit Lions got a 26-14 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders in a game that actually, that score probably should have been ballooned a little bit more.
Yeah. Detroit did not play their best football,
No, they
but
did
they
not.
still came out with a solid win.
That's all we care about. They came
That's
out with the
right.
win. They did what they needed to. What I liked about it, and I made the joke on just lying around, is that they play like in Ted Lasso. He's got a famous quote where he says, "Play like a goldfish." You go out there, you have a crappy play. Guess what? Play like a goldfish. Just for have a short attention span. Go out there and just keep going. And Jared Goff throws that interception. They have those turnovers, and guess what? They just kept bouncing back. Like
Yeah.
that first fumble where not Craig Reynolds. I think it was Josh Reynolds had that catch, and they fumbled it, gave it back to the Raiders, and then what did the Raiders do? They threw an interception. So the Lions defense was like, all right, we'll just get the ball back.
Yeah.
They fought and they just made sure that even though I think they led the game in turnovers, they made sure that the Raiders didn't capitalize on them. And that's what you want your team. That's what the good teams do. Like if you win a game and you have a negative turnover margin, that says something about your team. And Goff came back after that pick 6, let him down the field again. I think they did have that fumble on that drive that shouldn't have been a fumble, but that's beside the point. But you can just tell that Goff comes back out there like it was just like the Green Bay game where he threw that interception to start the game, and we're like, oh no, this is not how we wanted to start this game off. And then what did he do after that? Like 4 straight drives, just marching down the field. So this team is built different. They got embarrassed against the Ravens,
Yes, they did.
and this is the bounce back. This is the be a goldfish.
Yep.
That was then. We're here now, and we're going to move on.
Well, it's also they have been playing phenomenal on national TV this year. In years past, the only national TV game they got was Thanksgiving Day, and now, I mean, they've been on Thursday night football. They've been on well, it wasn't Sunday night, but it was a Sunday afternoon
They had the
game.
Thursday night opening game, and then they had the prime game on Thursday night,
Yeah,
and then this Monday night. So that's 3 nationally
right.
televised games.
But yeah, I mean, they play really well when the spotlight is the brightest on them, and when we were there, they were giving away Aiden Hutchinson bobbleheads to the first
Yes, they were.
25,000 people that came in the stadium. We were lucky enough to be there early enough to snag a couple for you and me and other people in our party. And he didn't have the greatest game. He didn't have any sacks in the game, but he is such a force that they had to account for him,
Yeah.
and that led to other people getting sacks. Anzalone, I think, had a couple of
Yeah.
sacks, and a couple of the other linemen they got their sacks. But you know, Hutchinson is still a great player, but when you play against Hutch, you got to play against everybody too. So if you concentrate on him, you're going to miss somebody else,
Yeah,
and that's exactly what happened in that game.
the Raiders did to Hutch what I thought the Lions would be able to do to Crosby, but the Lions played it. They schemed it a little bit differently, and so it's like almost that Hutch was almost taken out of the game. He was always kind of, rushing way onto the outside, but that opened up a hole for like an Anzalone to just heat seek and missile straight to the quarterback.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's by design or what, but yeah, Hutch isn't always going to have the game on paper. He's going to have the game like that was always what like Ndamukong Suh used to do for Detroit, which I feel like he was such a disruptive force,
Right.
and you had people doubling him. He
Right.
wouldn't get the numbers, but the impact he had where another guy would come in and get the
Yep.
play, like that's what you want.
Yeah.
And there's no stat for that. But I mean, if you watch the tape, if you watch just any game live, you just see Hutchinson's motor just going. I sat there last night. I watched Hutch so many times, just like, dang, he's rushing really wide, like really wide to the outside, and but it opened up so much. It's like, and he's getting concentrated on to where they're not accounting for everybody. And the Lions usually only rush 4 guys,
Yeah.
maybe a 5, but that's it.
And he was getting pressure on the quarterback, so some of those balls were going over the receiver's head, or he had to throw it away real quick.
Yeah.
So I mean, his force was felt. But let's just for a minute, I want to talk about some of the other stuff we did.
Yeah.
We got there nice and early. We got to Detroit like at 3:15.
Oh yeah, we wanted to beat all that traffic.
Yeah, and
coming
we
from the
did.
west side of the state.
And we did. Luckily, we were there early enough. So we parked and we were a few blocks away. And first thing we did was we went to go see the new Barry Sanders statue
Yeah,
that
we
they
did
just
that.
unveiled in week 2, I guess.
Man, we both got a coughing fit.
Oh man,
Our throat's still
We're-
kind of
we're too
itchy
excited.
from the. I kind of have a bit of a throat from just screaming and cheering all Thursday or Monday night.
Yeah. But so we went to the Barry Sanders statue. We got our pictures taken. I I had a big heavy coat on over my George Plimpton jersey, and I took it off to get the picture taken. But boy, I was ready to put it back on because it was cold out there.
Yeah.
You were wearing shorts, but you didn't care.
Hey, I had a sweatshirt on under my jersey.
But then then we had plenty of time to walk around, so we walked around outside the stadium. We had 2 hours to kill by then until the doors even opened up, and we ended up going to a store that had a lot of Lions souvenirs and jackets and hats and T-shirts and stuff. And we hung out in there, and so many things I would have wanted to buy, but I didn't want to buy them then have to carry them through
Right.
the whole game. So, but I'm thinking, yeah, I might just make a trip over there and go back to the store because there was a few things that I really saw that I really wanted. But anyway, after that, we wound up going over to a Buddy's Pizza place, which I didn't even know there was one that close to the stadium. We used to stop at one in Dearborn or Deerfield, I forget, on the way home, which was like a half an hour away. And so we would always stop there, and that became a tradition with us for a while. I had no idea. I don't know how long it was there, but there is one like 2 blocks from from Ford Field.
Yeah.
We had to wait a long time to get a table, but we did. We
That worked out for the best.
it worked out. Yep.
Because I was worried because we were waiting on Aaron and his wife.
Yeah. You and I wanted to be in line when the doors opened
Yeah, we
up.
wanted to get in as soon as possible. See, that's where you and I are like the same. And then Aaron kind of comes in, and Aaron's like that. You guys, you got time. You're not going to run out of the bobbleheads you want. And he was right.
Yeah.
I'll admit it because I get it. I get anxious. I do need that person to kind of, all right, we're going to take a step back here. We have time.
Yeah.
And it worked out. Everything worked out great.
So I think the doors opened at 5:45.
Yep.
And where were we there? About 6:15, 6:20?
Yeah, somewhere around
Something like
there.
that. And we got right into the stadium. There was no big long lines of crush of people. And yeah, there was empty boxes all over the place where they were handing out these bobbleheads. But we still there in plenty of time to get some.
Right.
And so we were happy about that. We went to the gift shop in the stadium, bought a few things there. I got what I really wanted, and you found it for me.
Yeah.
The pin for that particular game. In the years past, they've always had a pin, that has the date and the 2 opponents for that particular game. And I always get one, and I put it on my pin board. and they didn't have one last time we were there, and I was really upset.
Yeah.
And you found one this year, so I wasn't even looking for it this year. I totally forgot about it. And you said, "Oh, here's a," and it's got the 90th season logo on it, which I
Yeah.
love. And so that was awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you found that. And I got a can koozie with the blue helmet that they debuted
Yeah.
that night, and so it was just a lot of fun. And then we got to our seats, and they had these wristband things that nobody knew what to do with, but you just had on your wrist, and they would light up all by themselves.
Apparently, that's something Taylor Swift did at some of her concerts. Like,
Oh, really?
everybody would have those wristbands, and they would light up. So
It would light up by the beat of the drums, or
whatever the music was playing, yeah.
flicker in, or they went off after the national anthem. So, and I don't think people on TV watching on TV would see a lot of that, because most of that happened at halftime,
I don't know.
during timeouts, when they were playing music, and so they probably went away from the stadium. But it was so awesome to be there.
It was cool. I definitely got some video of it. I'm going to try to put together something of our trip to Monday Night Football. I don't know how exactly I'm going to structure it yet, but I got plenty of footage. Like I said, I got to piece it together and figure out that. But we'll definitely put up a World of Football Goes to Monday Night Football video, I'm sure, when I get time this week.
Yeah. And then, after the game, we walked back to our car. We got right back on the highway. We dropped Aaron and Liz off at their hotel. They were smart enough to get a hotel.
That's what we're going to do next time. If we go to a
north
Monday
of
night
town.
game.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, if the Lions keep playing like this, and the way that Ford Field showed out for that game, they're getting another Monday night game next year. You know that they're coming
or
back.
a Sunday night, some kind of prime time where it's
They're getting more primetime games. Now, what we got 4 this year, they're 3-0 so far this year. I think the Lions are going to be, I don't know what the ratings have been for with the Lions being on any of these games, but I think we're going to start seeing the trend of the Lions getting a few more nationally televised games every year for the next couple of years.
Well, it wasn't Dan Patrick. Who's the guy that does the post game?
Oh, Scott Van Pelt.
Scott Van Pelt was there.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen him go to a game.
I was wondering what time he went home, because I was like, he's doing that late night Sports Center, so he's like, it's like 1 a.m. already. When is he going back to his
we
hotel?
listened to a Detroit radio station on the drive home that was having coverage of it's 1:30 in the morning, and they're still talking about the game and people calling in and this and that. Man, it was awesome.
Yep.
And other than the fact that I almost ran off the road falling asleep,
You did.
when we got to Battle Creek,
That was scary.
those rumble strips kicked in and it woke me back up. But oh man, it was a rough ride home, and I don't want to do that again.
I know. I know.
But it was awesome.
We were all tired. It was a long day.
Kyle asleep in the back seat, you asleep next to me, and me asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
But an awesome experience, a great game, a great win. I'm just not ready to do another Monday night game anytime too soon. But man, was it awesome to be there, and just a lot of fun. Glad I could share it with you guys.
Yep, for sure. All right, and with that, we're going to move on to the Canadian Football League because it was their final week of the regular season.
Yes.
And while all the playoff teams were set, all the matchups figured out, they still played some games.
Right.
Friday night saw the Blue Bombers of Winnipeg defeat the Calgary Stampeders 36-13. Winnipeg quarterbacks Drew Brown and Dakota Prukop combined to complete 17 passes for 306 yards and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, they sat starting quarterback Zach Caleros. Final game of the year. I'm sure a lot of teams did this.
Yeah, there was no seeding difference. Everybody knew exactly who they were going to be playing.
They weren't really playing for anything. Yep. It was just a formality.
The last game had something to play for.
Yeah.
But not this particular one.
Wow. Prukop also scored a rushing touchdown. Wide receiver Rasheed Bailey had 2 catches for 81 yards, a touchdown as well. Kicker Sergio Castillo made 5 field goals, the longest of which was 51 yards. Calgary quarterback Jake Mayer and Tommy Stevens combined to complete 119 yards and a touchdown, while running back for Calgary, Derek Mills had 88 yards rushing, and wide receiver Cole Tucker had 2 receptions for 53 yards and a touchdown. Saturday saw the Alouettes of Montreal defeat the Hamilton Tiger Cats 22-20. Montreal quarterbacks Cody Fajardo and Davis Alexander, as well as Caleb Evans, so they had 3 quarterbacks in this game, combined to complete 16 passes for 136 yards and a touchdown. Not a great effort on their part, but wins a win. Hamilton quarterbacks Taylor Powell and Bo Levi Mitchell combined to complete 15 passes for 159 yards and 2 interceptions. Running back Sean Thomas Erlington had 80 yards rushing and a touchdown. These 2 teams will play again next week in the playoffs, so definitely probably try not to show the other team
Right.
too much
They,
before the
they
big
want to
game.
get some people who hadn't had a lot of work, get them into the game, get them some work, getting ready for the playoffs. Um, yeah, like I said, nobody wins and losses meant nothing this week,
Yeah.
except for
Except for the Toronto Argonauts, who got a big win over the Ottawa Red Blacks. And why is this a big deal? Well, it was the 16th win for Toronto this season, which is a new franchise record, tying the 1989 Edmonton Eskimos for the most single season wins ever in the Canadian Football League.
yeah, in a single season.
In a
Yep.
single season, yep. So Toronto led this game 14-6 at halftime. Argos quarterback Cameron Dukes completed 22 passes for 317 yards and a touchdown, while wide receiver David uh,
Ungerer.
Ungerer had 6 catches for 88 yards. Ottawa quarterback Dustin Crum completed 22 passes for 273 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran for another 73 yards. Running back Devontae Williams had 51 rushing yards and went over 1,000 yards for the season. Wide receiver Justin Hardy had 119 receiving yards and a touchdown and also went over 1,000 yards on the season. And here's an odd fact, according to Randy. Toronto had more wins this season, 16, than Ottawa had in the past 4 seasons combined. Wow.
Which is 14.
Which they had 14. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, they mentioned that on the telecast, and I thought that was a pretty interesting little tidbit. Of course, they didn't even start or play Chad Kelly at all. They're saving him for that playoff run.
Oh yeah, so they get the bye, first round bye. But
right.
then in the regular season, they since the Canadian League's got the 21 weeks, right? 21.
Yes.
Yeah. So there were 3 teams on bye this week: the Rough Riders, the Elks, and the British Columbia Lions. So obviously the Elks out of playoff contention, the Rough Riders out of playoff contention. But for the British Columbia Lions, that might be a big deal. They're getting an extra week's rest going into their opening round game against the Blue Bombers. So be very curious. British Columbia will be playing the Stampeders. So get a little extra rest there.
Yep.
All right. Looking at the final standings of the CFL season before we talk playoffs. The Argonauts, obviously, 16-2, clinching the East Division. They will have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Montreal will host the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Montreal's 11-7. Hamilton is 9-9, and then the Ottawa Red Blacks, who were eliminated, sit at 4-14. In the West, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers went 14-4. They clinched that West Division and will host the playoffs in the West Division if they, they'll host the championship game there. The British Columbia Lions will host the Calgary Stampeders in the first round of the playoffs. The Lions went 12-6, and the Stampeders went 6-12. The Saskatchewan Roughriders were eliminated with a 6-12 record, and the Edmonton Elks also eliminated with a 4-14 record. And now Randy's going to look at the first round matchups.
Yeah, in the CFL playoffs, in the East, it's going to be Hamilton at Montreal, and in the West, it's going to be Calgary at the British Columbia Lions. And now we're going to move on to the FBS scores. This was week 9. We have 8 undefeated teams left this week. And going down the list, number 1 Georgia improved to 8-0 with a win over Florida, 43-20. Michigan remained at 8-0. They did not play this week. Ohio State is at 8-0. They had a win over Wisconsin, 24-10. Number 4 Florida State at 8-0 with a win over Wake Forest, 41-16. It was number 5 Washington improving to 8-0 with a win over Stanford in a low-scoring game, 7-0. Kansas upset number 6 Oklahoma, 38-33. That was Oklahoma's first loss of the season, dropping them from the ranks of the undefeated teams. Arizona upset number 11 Oregon State, 27-24. Georgia Tech upset number 17 North Carolina, 46-42. It was number 18 Louisville shutting out number 20 Duke, 23-0. It was number 25 James Madison improving to 8-0, their first season at the FBS level with a win over Old Dominion, 30-27. Liberty improved to 8-0 with a win over Western Kentucky, 42-29. Our Western Michigan Broncos from here in Kalamazoo defeated the Eastern Michigan Eagles, 45-21. San Jose State shut out Hawaii, 35-0. Kansas State shut out Houston, 41-0. Miami of Florida over Virginia, 29-26 in overtime. And finally, SMU over Tulsa, 69-10. In the military academies, it was number 19 Air Force improving to 8-0 with a win over Colorado State, 30-13. I watched most of that game. That was a pretty good game. Massachusetts over Army, 21-14, and Navy was off this week. So that's it for the FBS level scores. Let's go down to the FCS level. We're going to pick two random scores from each of the levels, lower levels from here on out. Southern Illinois shut out Western Illinois 63-0. This drops Western Illinois' record to 0-8. Western Illinois is also the school where Greg James, our man in Japan, went to college, and he pointed that out to me that his old alma mater was losing. In fact, not only did they get shut out 63-0 last week, their last win was on October 30th of 2021. They are on a 21 game losing streak. According to him, that's the longest in college football. I couldn't confirm, but I'll take his word for it since he's an alumni of the school. He's probably up on all that stuff. So sorry about that, Greg. And the other FCS score this week: Brown over Penn, 30-26. In Division Two, it was Ferris State shutting out American International 56-0, and it was Limestone over Newberry 28-24. I go through all these scores and I just pick out two random scores. I could have done nothing but shutouts at every level. Two shutouts from everybody was shutting out everybody else this weekend. It was really weird. Let's see. Division Three scores: Hope College over Kalamazoo College 63-17, and it was Worcester over Hiram 47-14. At the NAIA level, Indiana Wesleyan over St. Francis of Indiana 52-21, and Concordia of Michigan shut out Madonna 67-0. In the junior college levels, the National Junior College Athletic Association, Snow College, our favorite college in the country, improved to 7-2 with a win over Lackawanna 50-21, and Mississippi Delta over Jones 36-33. U Sports up in Canada. This was their playoff week. It's weird how they do things up there. They had some games that were regular season games, but then they also had a couple playoff games. So it's weird how that happens. But anyway, in the playoffs, it was the Windsor Lancers over the Carleton Ravens 14-11. The Queens Golden Gales defeated the Ottawa GGs 15-10, and the Laurier Golden Hawks shut out the Waterloo Warriors. It's a playoff game, remind you, 69-0. And then in the Canadian Junior Football League, these were also playoff games. The West Shore Rebels over the Okanagan Sun. I always want to say Okanagan, but I believe it's Okanagan. Okanagan Sun, 33-19. And the Saskatoon Hilltops shut out the St. Clair Saints 43-0. And that sets up the Canadian Junior Football League Championship game on November 11th, which will feature the West Shore Rebels versus the Saskatoon Hilltops. And that is it for this week's World of Football scoreboard, where we talked about every level of college football that we know about. All right, let's start with some NFL news. Packers defensive end Rashawn Gary has agreed to terms on a 4-year, $96 million extension, making his entire contract now worth $107 million, I think, with a signing bonus of around $34 million. I couldn't believe some of these numbers.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of Michigan, I remember we watched, what was it, that All or Nothing show about Michigan on Amazon Prime. I think it was called All or Nothing.
Okay.
They had, Michigan as the featured team that year. And Rashawn Gary had a prominent thing in that because it was him and his mom. He had a single mom helping raise him. And he just wanted to, get to the league, do stuff for his mom. I think he was the Uber driver for a couple
I
of
don't
episodes.
recall. That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I
think
I remember the name of the
that.
show, but I don't remember much.
I think you
about
talked about that a lot. But so hey man, get paid. I know you're a Packer, and I can't stand that you're a Packer, but I think it's pretty cool. Hey, get your money, man. He's been a great product out of Michigan. So good for him.
Well,
get your money.
That just means that the Packers won't be able to afford a good quarterback anytime soon, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, okay.
And then yesterday was the trade deadline
Yes.
In the NFL, and boy, you were watching all the different trades, and I wasn't paying attention to too many of them, but go ahead and run down what you
Yeah,
got.
I'm gonna try to keep up as much as I can. Maybe not all the specific details, but a few of the ones to take
Right.
note of. I mean, the NFL put a nice little nifty graphic out there of like all the big trades that kind of happened. Rasul Douglas, a defensive back for the Packers, went to the Bills. Donovan Peoples-Jones, wide receiver for the Browns, formerly of the University of Michigan, got traded to Detroit. That was Detroit's big acquisition at the trade deadline.
Did you see the picture that he posted of himself as a kid wearing a Detroit Lions jersey?
No, but
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me. If usually a lot of those Michigan kids, are kind of homegrown. I know there's some that aren't,
Right.
but like Hutchinson grew up being a Lions fan. Now you got Donovan Peoples-Jones, so
Yep.
that's pretty cool. I like bringing those kids back up and
Sure.
playing for Detroit. The big one though, Chase Young going to the 49ers for a third round pick. That's one that I know a lot of Lions fans on Twitter were crying about, like, oh, if it only cost a third round pick, how come we didn't do it? Because our GM they have a plan.
Yes.
And I know it stinks. I would have taken him for a third round pick. Are you kidding me? But at the same time, you got to pay him at the end of the year. Is he a scheme fit guy? Is he a guy who's going to follow your plan? I don't really know. And I don't think he did, according to like from kind of what it sounds like with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell's like, look, we want our kind of guys. Chase Young's a great player, but sometimes the best players don't fit what you're
Right.
doing. I know that sounds weird.
Yeah.
You would just think talent's talent and you add it wherever you can, but the way Detroit's built, they are more about fit and about, not, messing up the chemistry they have.
Yeah.
So
Well, we as fans know nothing.
we're
Uh,
we're not in those
and we are
meetings.
putting our trust in our GM and our head coach. And so far, they have not let us down.
Yep.
So until that happens, I'm going to just say, yeah, maybe I wanted this guy or trade for this guy. This guy would have been great. I think this and that. But I'm not the GM. I'm not the one that's crunching the numbers and looking at everything.
I think during one of the press conferences, it was either Campbell or Holmes who said, you're looking for a few things. Or I don't know if this is just a general thing you're looking for. You're looking for good value. You're looking for a guy who's going to work in your scheme.
Right.
And you're just looking, I forget what the third thing was now that I'm saying it out loud. But like there's a few things they look for, and
Right.
you want cost effectiveness, and you don't want to hurt your
Sure.
future. Like all the Lions gave up was a 2025 sixth round pick
Right.
for a wide receiver that it's kind of a show me deal. Like, hey, if he comes in, he plays pretty good, we could give him a decent contract. We don't have to break the bank for him probably. And he'll be hopefully a decent enough threat of a wide receiver who's only been in the league 4 or 5 years. So shoot, why not take a gamble on him?
Right.
But then you got teams like the Commanders who got rid of Chase Young to the Niners for a third round pick. You got Montez Sweat, a guy who I feel like they just drafted like a couple years ago, really. Another defensive lineman they just trade off to the Bears. And if you're the Bears, why are you making this trade? You're terrible. You are giving up draft capital to help rebuild your team to get a guy who you're going to have to re-sign a big contract to probably in the offseason. And how does that help your team? Like, I don't know. The Bears, that was weird moves for the Bears. But obviously, like, the Commanders were sellers. The Cardinals sent quarterback Joshua Dobbs to the Vikings. Dobbs had played all right for the Cardinals, filling in for Kyler Murray. Not great, but serviceable enough of a starting quarterback that I think you put him in that Minnesota roster. That at least keeps him maybe semi-relevant. I don't know if he'll be as good as Kirk Cousins has been, but I mean, you probably just need a guy in there to just kind of, I won't say game manager. I kind of hate that term, but he might be a serviceable guy. I'm hard to say.
Yeah.
Then of course the Eagles got Kevin Byard. We talked about that I think last week on the show. Seahawks getting Leonard Williams from the Giants. Like, so there's a few picks right there. Nothing too crazy. Not a big name other than I think the biggest name obviously being Chase Young getting moved at the deadline, but not a whole lot of movement. So clearly all these GMs, and not everybody's going to make a move. And I think all the fans want the big splashy move. And it's just, it doesn't work like that. This isn't the NBA. This isn't Major League Baseball. Football, it's very different. So
it's just like draft day. The owner wanted a big splashy pick.
The classic Kevin Costner movie?
Kevin Costner knew that he wanted a person of substance, but he went along anyway, but he fixed it in the end, and Jennifer Garner looked great in that movie. I just that's what I watch it for, Jennifer Garner. She's from Michigan,
Yep. And then did we touch on? I don't think we did because we spent too much time talking about the Lions experience. But the first firing of the season as the Las Vegas Raiders fire head coach.
That's right. I was going to mention that when we talked about it.
Yep, we were going to mention earlier, but here we are in the news. We'll talk
Passed
about
right
it now.
over it.
Yep, the Raiders fire head coach Josh McDaniels and general manager Dave Ziegler. Why am I doing your job for you? So they fired their head coach. They fired their GM. Then today they announced they are firing the offensive coordinator. And then they also are benching Jimmy Garoppolo for the rookie quarterback. And then they announced Antonio Pierce, I think he's the linebackers coach, as the interim head coach.
Okay.
So the Raiders are a complete mess.
Yeah. I heard
you lose to the Lions and you're just a complete mess.
I heard a couple of commentators, maybe just one guy on the radio, talk about how the Raiders were a hot mess. And that is so true. People love them, but man, they're a mess now.
They're definitely one of the best brands still.
Right, yeah.
But the fact that I think somebody said that they have not had, I think Cowherd might have said it, like I heard it somewhere. In the last 18 years, the Raiders have not had back-to-back winning seasons. In 18 years, to not have back-to-back winning seasons is hard in this league. I think even the Lions have had back-to-back winning seasons in the last 20 years.
I don't know. I don't want to look it up and find out.
We have, because we went 9-7 a couple years in a row.
That's true. Yes, Jim Caldwell's two seasons.
So as inept as the Lions have been, we haven't been. Well, that's still pretty inept, but you know what I'm saying. We haven't been Raiders bad.
Yeah,
which is now saying something. But look, the Raiders are a classic franchise. A franchise that kind of is like the oddball franchise of the league, but that's what makes them so cool in a way.
Yep.
But the way that, the later years of Al Davis and now the early years of Mark Davis being the primary owner of the team, just, I don't know what they're doing. They've been running through head coaches like nobody's business. I think they said they've had the most head coaches out of anybody in the last 20 years as well. I think that might have been a smaller time gap, but still, between that and then how do you offer a head coach a 10-year contract? It's just, I don't know how they're run. They are a messy organization. Top to bottom.
Not Gruden. Who was that they offered it to?
Yeah, it was Gruden, the 10-year contract.
Okay.
And then they hired an NFL analyst from the NFL Network to be their general manager, and Mike Mayock. It's just I don't know what Mark Davis is thinking. I don't know. And then, hiring the Patriot way again, which we have seen all across the league, it does not work. The Patriot way, unless Bill Belichick's involved, does not work. So...
Okay, is that it for the...
I believe so. Was there anything else I needed to look up for the NFL news?
No, I don't think so. I think we're good.
Well, for the college news, so if we're transitioning to that, are we going to mention, since we're doing it a day late, the college playoff announcement was last night?
Oh, I did not even see that.
No? Okay, well, then this is going to be news to you. I will read it off to you if you haven't heard that
playoff
yet.
Rankings, we know who the top 4 teams are.
Because, we do the show on Tuesdays, and they usually announce the rankings after we've already done the show. Yeah. So here we are. We're going to do the rankings this week, and after this, it'll just be a week late usually. Right. But here are your top 4 teams according to the college football playoff. At number, and tell me if you're surprised by any of this. At number 4, the 8-0 Florida State Seminoles. At number 3, the Michigan Wolverines. At number 2, the Georgia Bulldogs.
No.
And at number 1, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
No.
8-0. Yep. I saw that
they swapped those around. Wow.
I saw
the same 4 teams, different order.
I saw the Ohio State at number 1. I was thinking about it. I was like, why would they just throw Ohio State at number 1? And if you really think about it, it makes sense. They've played ranked teams. Michigan really hasn't done that. I know Michigan's got those games coming up, but you put a team at number 1 just to say, like, hey, if you think you're number 1, stay there. And I think this is more about seeing Ohio State go down than it is, anything else. But hey, they got to play a Michigan later on, so we'll see what happens. But
so you said Ohio State's 1 and Michigan's 3?
Yep. Georgia's 2, Florida State's 4. Then your next few teams after that, Washington's the last undefeated team in the top 10 at 8-0 at number 5. And then you got Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss rounding out the top 10. And then just for fun, there is one other undefeated team in the top 25. At number 25, Air Force, making the top 25. Okay. So yep, should be interesting. Again, very early for the Yeah. I at least like that they do these rankings at this point of the season as opposed to the beginning of the year. But now we have, some data and what we're looking for. They're looking at resumes. Here we go.
Well, you know what they're trying to do. They're trying to set it up so that if Ohio State and Michigan continue to win and win out, they don't want them playing in the first round. They want to make it so that they would both have to win in order to meet again in
That's
the
what we were hoping for
in the
kind of
championship
last
game.
year. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, to have a Michigan Ohio State national championship game would be something else.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that would be one for the ages.
it would be, and for those two schools, especially with Michigan, who's already won 2 straight games against Ohio State. Last year, everybody was saying, "Oh, if we beat Ohio State in the championship and we can just rub it in their face, we beat them twice in a year." That's a real thing. That rivalry is something else.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I'm not a Michigan fan per se. I will root for Michigan, and I
sure.
will be like, yeah, go Michigan. Like
Especially over Ohio
yeah,
State.
but with all the controversy and stuff also going on right now, I was like, ooh, did they knock Michigan down for some of this drama
I don't
going
know.
on?
I
But
think it's just setting it up so that they don't play each other in the
maybe,
first
but
round of the
I do
playoffs.
think resume wise, it's the best choice for right now.
Hmm.
Put Ohio State at number 1.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, moving on to some other college news. Army is going to be joining the American Athletic Conference, the AAC, in 2024, but in football only. They're going to be replacing the SMU Mustangs, who are going to be joining the Atlantic Coast Conference, the ACC, next year. Army has been playing as an independent team since 2005. Uh, in all other sports except football, Army is going to remain a member of the Patriot League.
uh,
And one other story that's really sad and hard to talk about. The FCS team at Northwestern State has canceled the remainder of their football season after the death of one of their players. Safety Ronnie Caldwell, a junior, was shot several times on October 21st at an apartment complex. I don't know if it was his apartment complex, but it sounded like it was on the campus. But anyway, it was at an apartment complex. Police took into custody Caldwell's roommate and an ex-teammate. His roommate was later released. Brad Laird, the head coach there, has also resigned as the head coach of the team. He was in his 6th season, so a
man,
very sad
what
situation
a
down there.
sad story this was.
Yeah,
Man.
I read the whole article and I just I didn't like having to read it, but I wanted to at least mention it that a team is shutting down for the whole year because of a the death of a player. It's not the way he died is just very very tragic. Unfortunately, you see that more and more these days, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. All right, let's move on to some arena and indoor football news. Uh, Tom McCoy has been named the deputy commissioner of the Arena Football League, and he's the former commissioner of the Champions Indoor Football, where several of the teams are coming from in the new Arena
Mm.
Football League. So he's going to be the deputy commissioner there.
Oh, great! Now I wonder if this was a part of some deal they made. Like, oh well, we'll usher in some of these teams, but we want to save our position or get moved over to your league too at the executive levels, or
Yeah,
running this league.
I don't know. I don't know. But they also announced several teams this week. Well, 3 actually. The Oregon Grizzlies have been added to the Arena Football League officially. The Washington Wolfpack, we thought they were going to be the Everett Hawks or Everett something, but they went with the Washington Wolfpack as their name. I know you wanted werewolves. That was one of the
Yep, I
4
wanted that so bad.
the 4 names that they had in a name the team contest. And then just today, see if we'd have done our podcast yesterday like we were supposed to, we wouldn't have got this news in. They just announced within the last few hours the Nashville Cats are coming back to the Arena Football League, and they're using their old logo. Which, duh, why aren't all of these teams using their old logo? Orlando Predators are. They want to change the Philadelphia Soul one. I don't get that. But yeah, the Nashville Cats with their old logo are coming back, and so that just leaves 4 teams left to be announced if they're going to have 20 teams. So there might be 4 more.
Well, I'm staring at a supposed official Chicago Rush Twitter page. I'm very skeptical about at the moment. Their website link does not work. That says chicagorush.com. But they did post a few things today. It looks like they literally just got this page up and running. Don't know if it's official, but I've seen this one, and I believe I saw a Philadelphia Soul Instagram page that the commissioner is following. Tinfoil hat on. I know it's not official, but
Right.
so we already kind of speculated in our video the Rush and the Soul were on their way anyway.
Sure.
On top of the
Voodoo.
the Voodoo, which we're also waiting official announcement
Right.
on. So that's 3.
Right. 3 out of the last
So
4,
so
and one more.
we're waiting on one mysterious team,
Right.
which we're not sure of.
Minnesota, maybe.
It's got to be, yeah, it's got to be the Minnesota team.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Nashville Cats, what a surprise that was
Yeah.
today. A
Yeah.
pleasant surprise.
A pleasant surprise.
I'm
Yes.
so happy to hear about that. The only thing that bums me out is that there's no Grand Rapids Rampage to go up against them.
Yeah.
But whatever, I will not
Beat
let
them in
this.
the Arena Bowl. We'd do it again.
Yeah. So
So,
I mean,
yeah,
finally some stuff I like. One thing I want to throw out there real quick: the ownership group of the the Oregon Grizzlies will also be part owned by Kayvon Thibodeau, the New York Giant defensive lineman that was drafted the same year as Hutchinson. Because he was the guy I wanted out of Oregon for the longest time that season. But then we ended up getting Hutchinson. But in the press release, they did mention that Kayvon Thibodeau is a part of that ownership group, which I think is cool. And then they mentioned for the Cats, Jeff Fisher
Yep.
is a part of that.
He's going to be an advisor.
An advisory, yeah. So it's cool. Not the celebrity level maybe we're thinking of for the original Arena League kind of had, but
He's a football guy.
Football guy. Maybe it's a good
football.
thing. I think Kayvon Thibodeau, it's cool that he's bringing an indoor team or helping bring the indoor team to Oregon, in whatever capacity he'll be involved with. Being a young, up and coming athlete in the NFL, I think that's kind of a cool decision for him to kind of do. So, yeah, I look forward to finally doing another arena video and talking about this final list of teams, looking at what a schedule would look like, where the Arena Bowl is going to be played. I mean, we were hoping to hear about a St. Louis team too, but
right, yeah.
Who knows? I mean, the Arena League's come up with a couple of surprises, so who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And again, waiting for official, releases. We've been seeing a lot of rumors and a lot of accounts popping up. So, like, we try not to post anything or, until we know something's officially official.
Right. Yeah. When we see an official release from the Arena Football League, that's when we say, yeah, it's really happening now. There's so much speculation. And when I saw that Nashville was coming back, I thought we should go to a Nashville game. I mean, I've been to a Chicago game, never been to a Philadelphia game, and those are kind of close to us. But Nashville, I think, is not that bad of a drive.
I think
us.
you can make a fun weekend out of going out. I mean, we already went to Tennessee for Aaron's wedding.
Right.
I think Tennessee's like they got some good stuff down there. Right. I'd probably make that trip. We can make a weekend out of it.
We know some folks in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We could maybe stop there for the night and then go on the next day or something, or whatever. Like but yeah, I think that would be fun to go see a Nashville.
But Nashville's got so much other history there too. Like, even though I'm not a big country music fan, I'm sure there'd be some cool places to go check out around there. So
I went there once to go to the Barbara Mandrell Museum.
Of course,
which
you did.
Isn't there anymore. But
of course,
that was awesome. And
so when are you starting up your Barbara Mandrell fan YouTube channel?
I also got to go see the Country Music Hall of Fame in town, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, there's plenty that we can do. Get some barbecue down there.
Nashville barbecue.
Oh, man. I'm hungry already.
Okay, we involve food. You got me.
Yeah, it's not just a football trip.
Football
and
food.
Football and food. Yes, we're there for the game, and we're going to eat something too while we're there.
And I'm sure, hey, if there's any people out there who are football fans in that area and have suggestions for us, we always love getting that kind of stuff. We love traveling.
Sure.
We love checking out new cities and we like the little spots. Like if you got some suggestions. Randy doesn't drink beer, so don't bother recommending him a good bar. I'll take a good bar and some beer. So
food, just
Randy
food.
likes food.
Food and roadside attractions. Yeah, you got.
Where's the biggest ball of twine you got?
Do you have a historical marker where there was a UFO sighting or something? Well, I'll go get my picture taken with it.
Randy will pull off for a sign that says Elvis Presley pulled off here to take a dump one time. He will do it. He will proudly take his picture. He will stop the whole trip to do this. Or if you know of any famous graves down there, Randy would surely love to find more Nashville graves. Oh, he's about to sneeze. Oh, my gosh. He's holding his hand up like James Brown when he was kneeling down on the stage.
God.
Yep. That's what you look like right there.
Okay.
Back on the rails. Let's
move on to something else. Peyton's Places, the second episode of season 4 came out Sunday or Saturday. Yeah, Sunday. And the name of the episode was The Coffin Corner.
Why does that ring a bell?
Because he was talking with Pat McAfee.
Of course.
It was him and Pat McAfee. And what I loved about this one is that it starts out with Pat McAfee standing in the middle of a cemetery in Indianapolis by a hole that's been dug for a grave. and he's standing there going, "Why did Peyton want to meet me here?" And all of a sudden, here comes Peyton driving a hearse, and he pulls up to him, and so they got this whole thing going on about coffin corner. Nobody's doing it anymore. Used to be a big thing, and so they actually went to what's their stadium there in Indianapolis?
Lucas Oil.
Lucas Oil Stadium. They went there. They had this wooden coffin, an old-fashioned wooden coffin, and they put it in the coffin corner by the end zone. And they tried, McAfee tried to punt a ball into the coffin in the coffin corner, and he finally did get one to bounce in there. And Peyton came awfully close himself. Peyton did a few of those, but it was just a fun episode talking about great punters over the years and all that. But yeah, it appealed to me because it started out in a cemetery. I love that. And then the Coffin Corner is actually the name of the official publication of the Pro Football Researchers Association, which you and I both belong to.
Yes,
So
yes,
that
yes.
was another cool thing there. So yeah, check out Peyton's Places. Always good episodes, but this one being in a cemetery is my favorite one this year so far. All right, we're going to move on to a couple of birthdays. Alabama head coach Nick Saban turned 72 years old. Oh no, these birthdays are for yesterday. I didn't update this.
Oh no.
So these are yesterday birthdays. Oh man.
Way to drop the ball, Randy.
Oh, I did.
Do you have your list over there? We can
Just grab the calendar right there. But anyway, I'm going to read what I had written for yesterday. Nick Saban, yesterday, Halloween, turned 72. He was the head coach at Toledo in 1990. He was the head coach at Michigan State from 95 to 99. The head coach at LSU from 2000 to 2004. Head coach at Alabama from 25 to the present. And he has won 7 national championships over the years, 1 with LSU and 6 with Alabama. The other birthday for yesterday on Halloween, Cal Hubbard, born on that date in 1900, died in 1977 at the age of 76. Um, he went to college football at a college called Centenary and another one, Geneva. He played tackle, guard, end, and defensive end in the NFL for the New York Giants, the Green Bay Packers, and the Pittsburgh Pirates between 1927 and 1936. He won 4 NFL titles, 1 with the Giants and 3 with the Packers, and he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1963, the inaugural season there, and the inaugural class of the Hall of Fame. And he went on to be a baseball umpire and did such a good job there that he was inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in 1976. The only player, or only person, I should say, to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the Baseball Hall of Fame. So you've got a list of birthdays for today.
Yeah, according to your little list here, there was Ted Hendricks.
Yep. Played for the Oakland Raiders.
Tim Fox.
Can't remember who he played for.
Tom Mack.
Tom Mack. I know that name too. See, I'd have to do all the research to get all this
And
stuff.
then Willie Ellison.
Willie Ellison. Okay.
Hey, but shout out to you guys. We apologize that Randy didn't get his stuff together and
it
properly,
wasn't my fault.
And properly give you guys a birthday shout out. So
I adjusted a few things, but I totally forgot about the birthdays being from yesterday.
let's see who we got next week. Just to preview, so Wallace Francis.
Don't ruin next week's show.
To
already.
Jake Gibbs, Tommy Hart, and Ray Renfro.
Yeah,
bunch of names I hadn't heard before.
That's
Ray
why
Renfro, actually.
That's why we do the birthday list, so I can look them up, tell you who they played for, and why they why we should be celebrating their birthdays. All right, we do have a couple of obituaries, actually 4 obituaries this week. This is where we take a moment and honor those who've made the world of football a better place. The first one is Harry Wilson, running back in the NFL for 4 seasons, has passed away at the age of 79. Wilson played college football at Nebraska and was selected in the 3rd round of the 1967 NFL Draft by the Philadelphia Eagles. He played for the team from 1967 to 1970.
All right, our next one is that of Godfrey Zonbrecker, center in the NFL for 3 seasons, has passed away at the age of 76. Zonbrecker played college football at LSU and was selected in the 11th round of the 1970 NFL Draft by the Minnesota Vikings. He played in Minnesota from 1971 to 1973. He was also a member of the Vikings Super Bowl VIII team.
Our next obituary is Ray Brown, a defensive back in the NFL for 10 seasons, has passed away at the age of 74. Brown played college football at West Texas A&M University and was selected in the 6th round of the 1971 NFL Draft by the Atlanta Falcons. He played for the Falcons from 1971 to 1977 and for the New Orleans Saints from 1978 to 1980.
And our final obituary this week is that of Sam Ball, a tackle in the NFL for 5 seasons, has passed away at the age of 79. Ball played college football at Kentucky and was the 15th overall pick in the 1966 NFL draft by the Baltimore Colts. He was also selected in the second round of the 1966 American Football League draft by the New York Jets. He signed with the Colts and played for the team from 1966 to 1970, playing in Super Bowl 3 and 4 and winning Super Bowl 5. Sorry, winning.
He played in Super Bowl 3 and Super Bowl 5.
Okay, but
And
he won Super Bowl
right,
5. Yep.
right.
All right.
Yeah, so he lost in the Super Bowl to the team that also drafted him.
See, yeah, you did another bad wording thing there.
No, it
I don't
makes
like that.
perfect sense to me.
Well, you could have just said played in Super Bowl 3 and Super Bowl 5, which he won. So,
well, whatever.
yeah.
I thought mine was better.
It's not.
All right, upcoming events calendar. This Sunday, November 5th, it's the Miami Dolphins versus the Kansas City Chiefs from Frankfurt, Germany. Frankfurt Stadium. That game is going to be at 9:30 a.m. on the NFL Network.
Did you see Mike McDaniels, the coach for the Dolphins, already did a press conference there?
No.
The first thing he said, he walks up to the podium, he goes, "I know what you're all thinking. I know what your big question is, and yes, I am taller in person." That dude is something else. That dude is something else.
Let's see. And then Sunday, November 12th, the New England Patriots versus the Indianapolis Colts. Also from Frankfurt Stadium in Frankfurt, Germany. Another 9:30 a.m. game on NFL Network. Saturday, November 18th, it's the Harvard-Yale game, as well as the Lehigh-Lafayette game. The Lehigh-Lafayette game, if you're not familiar with that, is the longest series in all of college football. They played over 150 times. That's more than Harvard, Yale, Michigan, Ohio State, anybody. It's Lehigh and Lafayette for the FCS level. And then Sunday, November 19th, the 110th CFL Grey Cup Championship game at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, Ontario. And finally, on our upcoming events list, Saturday, December 9th, the Army-Navy game, which I believe is in Philadelphia again this year.
Okay.
So we'll have that. Well, I'll check that out and I'll be sure where it's being played next week. Okay, we finally made it. A day late, $1 short, but we've got it all done. Anything else that you want to add before we close out the show?
Nope, should be good.
All right. That's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can also like The World of Football on Facebook at TWOF Kalamazoo, or follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, where the address is at TWOF Kalamazoo. We also have an Instagram page where we're starting to get a little more active on that. That address is also just use the handle TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are normally posted on Tuesdays, but we'll try to give people a heads up. Just keep a track on those social medias, and we'll let you know if we're going to be a day late and $1 short, as usual. But you can find us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, pretty much wherever you can find good podcasts, that's where we'll be. You can also, if you have an Alexa device around, just simply say, play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever devices you may have there. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube channel. Just search the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle youtube.com/@theworldoffootball. Please subscribe, rate, review, all that stuff. We have been, the Arena Football video has been a big hit.
Yeah.
A lot of people commenting on that one. We like interacting with people.
Yep. A lot of passionate Arena Football fans excited about the league
Yes.
coming back and concerned about some of the teams.
Which, hey, that's what we're here for.
Yes.
We're here to, voice some concerns. But, hey, it's been a really good community. Not a lot of hate stuff. We've been very fortunate, I think, to get a lot of positive people coming to the channel. We appreciate that. And especially all you listeners out there, we appreciate you for spreading the word. So, without further ado, I'd like to say thank you for spreading that word, rating, reviewing, all that jazz. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And please, come be a part of that football conversation we have on any platform. It doesn't matter. We'll try to engage you.
Yeah. And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us guys sitting here in snowy Kalamazoo. We had snow this morning. It's all gone
It's
now.
not that bad
but,
now. It was snowing like really bad last night during trick or treating.
Yeah.
Went out with the girlfriend and the little one, and
Mhm.
she come back to the car. We sat in the car. It was all nice and warm. She'd go run up to the house with her friends and would come back, and her wig's got all the snow on it, like this bright orange wig just covered in snow. So
my sister lives over by the lake shore now, right
Yeah.
on Lake Michigan, and she sent me some pictures last night. In fact, they lost electricity last night,
geez.
and they didn't have it back this morning. I don't know if she still is without power, but she sent me some pictures where they got about a foot of snow.
Dang.
And they just moved home from Arizona. I mean, she grew up here in Michigan. She and her husband both, but they're the last 20, 30 years they've been out in Arizona, have not seen snow in
Yeah.
person and all that time, and she was just loving it.
Other than at the family reunions.
Yeah, and I think she's
Mm.
had enough of snow for this winter
Yeah.
already.
But hey, and also it's noteworthy. You always like to keep track of when the first time you pull your snow thrower out.
Yes.
Well, today was the first day of the year I had to use the automatic car starter.
Oh.
Yeah.
To heat it up
Well,
before you got out there?
I mean, I don't think I had that much frost built up on my car, but I looked at the temperature and I was like, I probably should start my car up a little early today.
Well, I actually did get the snow thrower out today because last year I left gas in it, so it didn't start, and I had to take it in, and they had to fix it. So they said, don't put any gas or run all the gas out of it next winter and leave it totally empty all summer long. Then you put new gas in the winter. So I did that today. I pulled it out, I put some gas in it, and I hit the start button, and boom, it started right up. So I'm good to go for this winter now.
And for those of you who have stuck around after the World of Football, This Week in the World of Football podcast, we have now transitioned into our new show,
Snow Talk.
the newest episode of home improvement, home improvement, and home just maintenance with Randy. This week we're talking about snow throwers and when you need to purge that gas line. So be sure to heed Randy's advice, and we'll be back next week with more tips and tricks with Randy, and we'll probably be talking about leaf blowers. So until then, everybody,
I got a nice leaf blower. And I got a lot of leaves.
This bit's getting too bad.
But they're too wet.
Oh my God.
To blow right now.
Just pull the plug. Stop the show. Are we done?
Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job.
I give you
Randy
better
Snow.
home maintenance advice.
He's Adam Snow, the rottenest kid in the world.
Way to get off the rails.
And we'll see you all next week.
Oh.